Alrighty, so I stumbled upon this gaming PC, and I don't like people wasting money, so I just want to go over if these specs are decent enough for the price. So right off the bat, let's just look at the specs before we look at anything else to see how it is. It has the Ryzen 7 5700, which is an 8-core 12-thread that came out in 2022, so it is a few years old. It has 16 gigabytes of RAM at DDR4, which is a older generation by a year. We're up to DDR5 now. So that is another thing to consider. Comes with an RTX 4060 8GB, and they're saying 8GB of VRAM. Currently is what I have in my PC, and it's not going to be able to run higher end games after 1920 by 1080 or possibly even 2K. So if you want a 4K gaming PC, this is probably not going to be your best bet, being older parts. Previous generation and a graphics card with 8GB, but if you're looking for something just to rock games at 144 FPS for games like Counter-Strike, Fortnite, all those sort of FPS games, it's going to crush it and hold that easily. And then higher end games, it's going to probably sit more around the 100 frame rate on something a little bit higher, more higher end, like GTA Roleplay or Red Dead Redemption 2, anything like that, or Call of Duty, probably going to be a little bit more around that range, but the 4060 is still a good graphics card regardless. Has a 1 TB NVMe SSD, so basically, if you don't know what that is, it's a little, basically like a hard drive that sits right on the motherboard. It has absolutely no latency. Well, I shouldn't say absolutely none, but compared to the old disk spinner, it has no latency. It's basically like comparing like old school Wi-Fi to plugging in with an Ethernet cord, a fiber optic. It's just much faster. Alright, so that's all the main parts, and now let's get into the build quality. Case has a mesh front, which is great for cooling. I see so many of these gaming PCs that look really cool where it's got a complete panel that doesn't have a mesh and it has a hard time breathing. Pardon me, it looks like an aftermarket CPU cooler, and RGB RAM, which is nice to see. That GeForce RTX card that it's showing is from MSI or Gigabyte by the looks of that. That actually looks like the MSI one. But we will look at customers' photos to see what exactly comes in here. There is room to add more fans up top or even switch to an all-in-one liquid cooler, which I have, but personally I wouldn't waste the money. Air coolers are perfectly fine unless you're going absolutely extreme on overclocking stuff. I'm not interested. Thank you. Alright, let's take a look at the customers' reviews. I just want to snoop. Oh, Asus. Asus. Oh, they didn't put that on correctly. That's not the end of the world fix, but you definitely don't want to see that. Team Force and PNG. That's alright. It's like the fast food graphics card. I wouldn't complain if I got that. That guy's looks like he's got a pretty good graphics card. I don't know what brand that is, but it's got a nice heat shield. Can't really see much. MSI, that's one that I thought it would come with. To be honest, like, any of these graphics cards, if you got any of them, they're all not that terrible. The MSI has a bit of a whine with the fans when it starts getting a little bit hot. The basic MSIs aren't the best, but honestly, for the price of $1,000, I would say it's not too bad. Yeah, I'm not seeing any red flags. I mean, this guy, I would be upset. That, they should have caught that. But overall, the keyboard and mouse are gonna work. They're very generic, very cheap. Keyboard would probably not be loud by any means. It's a membrane, and then the mouse is going to be half decent. But if you do upgrade your mouse, you'll never want to go back to a cheap $10 mouse again. But I would say for $1,000, you're getting what you pay for. It's not too bad. It's not terrible. It's not high end. You would have to go up to like 1,500 to be able to get something that would play more 4K sort of gaming. So if you do have extra money, I would spend it. But if you don't, this one is perfectly acceptable. It will play pretty much every game you throw at it at 2K or 1920 by 1080.